Hello, and good day, everyone. To follow is a story and some information that I think you will find useful in your journey to recovery. And this was a turning point in my recovery from my traumatic brain injury. Remember, I'm not a doctor, so you should talk to yours about any of this that I'm bringing forward, or order the book yourself and form your own opinion. Back in 2018, I was at a really low point in my life and my recovery from my brain injury. August of 2014 was my car accident, and I had been a hot mess ever since, and it seemed like my life was spiraling out of control. I was searching for something, anything, that could lead me to believe there was a way I could improve myself and my debilitating injuries and symptoms from my brain injury. At that time, what I latched onto based on research I'd been doing on the internet was that diet and nutrition might have healing properties. But my symptoms were such that I had debilitating headaches among many other cognitive issues every single day. I made an appointment and met with a dietitian and asked some basic questions on whether or not diet and nutrition could help me heal my injured brain. The first dietitian I talked to, I got the standard response: a sheet of paper and some information on the Mediterranean diet, which I had already been doing quite a bit, but it didn't seem to help. Undeterred, I kept searching and ran across a dietitian who was also a college student at NDSU, and she was working at my favorite therapist location, and that was Apex in West Fargo. And this is a time when I pause and tell you how grateful I am for this wonderful place. I had been doing craniosacral therapy there for a couple months, and it was making a world of difference. I swear there must be some angels who worked there. Allison, Cameron, Aaron, and Josh are just some of the people that I'm sure are still traumatized from dealing with me. Someone happened to mention a dietitian who was interning there, and I made an appointment with her. And little did I know what a life-changing appointment it would be. One of the first things that she asked was if I take fish oil and what type I take. I told her what brand, and she told me I might as well throw my money away. She also recommended this book, When Brains Collide. I said, fat chance I can read that. I can't even remember to let my dogs in from the cold, and my headaches are debilitating. So diving in to When Brains Collide, there's a lot of research and data about omega-3 and omega-6. Omega-3 is an anti-inflammatory, and omega-6 is an inflammatory, and your body needs both. The brain is made of fat, and about 30% of that fat are what we call omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s have many important critical functions. The concept of the omega-3 protocol is that after we saturate the brain with what it is made of, and we help create the nutritional foundation for the brain to heal, it will heal. Think of a brick wall. If you have a brick wall that gets damaged, you'll probably want to use bricks to repair the wall. Literally, use the bricks of the brain. Omega-3s make up a significant part of every neuron cell membrane. There is no cure for concussions and TBIs. There are no magic medicines, nor will there ever be. The brain must heal itself. What we can do is optimize a condition to help the brain do the healing. That is what the omega-3s will do. They provide a tool, the basic building block for the brain to recovery. Our diet used to be pretty well balanced with omega-3s and omega-6s. The Industrial Revolution introduced technology that refined vegetable oils. At the same time, there was a huge rise in production and consumption of processed foods. Both led to a dramatic increase in the consumption of omega-6 fatty acids. Today's foods, you might think you're eating healthy, but if you're eating farm-raised fish, tilapia being one of the worst in terms of too many omega-6s and almost no omega-3s. It's because of what the fish are fed to make them grow. Soy and corn are big contributors to omega-6. Today in Western diets, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids ranges from 20 to 1 to 30 to 1, instead of the pre-industrial range of 1 to 1 or 2 to 1. Research has shown that this imbalanced intake of omegas is a contributing factor to many chronic health conditions, such as heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, depression, asthma, allergies, and obesity, ADHD, and even autism. This imbalance also makes the brain more susceptible to concussions and TBI, and it limits the biochemical activity of the brain to heal itself. Junk food in equals junk food out. You are what you eat. This book details cases of traumatic brain injuries of which the people were not expected to survive, and they were given high doses of omega-3 and an incredible turnaround that happened with them. There are also many cases of concussion symptoms getting better even if it was an old injury that happened years later. The reason for not taking cheap omega-3s, according to the book, and it also made sense to me, since mine didn't work, is that if it's not in triglyceride form, it's not easily absorbable by your body. If ethyl esters are mentioned, then it's not in triglyceride form either. For more information and a longer video, check out my YouTube channel at Hope After Humpty Dumpty Fell. Omega-6s exploded in the 60s and 70s due to the farm subsidies and the farm program in the easy-to-grow crops of soybeans and corn. Soybeans and soy make foods more shelf-stable than omega-3, so processed food is often rich in omega-6s. The result is a growing imbalance of omega-3s versus omega-6. Omega-6s are critical for brain development and function, but they are also very pro-inflammatory. Inflammation is a crucial process to fight infections and bring healing to an infected or injured part of the body. Omega-3s are equally critical and serve as a balance with anti-inflammatory and pro-resolving properties. In the last half century, the foods we eat have set the balance between pro and the anti-inflammatory omega-6 and omega-3s off kilter. We have way too many omega-6s in our diets and in our brains. Now the preconditions are set for additional trauma when the brain is injured. If there is a head injury, the brain is flooded with inflammatory factors from omega-6s, which is necessary to a point. We need inflammatory responses to address the injury, but we also need the anti-inflammatory and pro-resolving omega-3s to calm the brain and extinguish the fire of inflammation. If that doesn't occur, the acute injury can turn into a situation of chronic inflammation that continues to burn for weeks, months, or even years. One of the pressing questions is, does this imbalance make us more susceptible to getting a concussion? You might be wondering what kinds of foods are rich in omega-3s and what aren't. Well, omega-3s are found in animal meat and fish. They are also related to what the animal eats. For example, grass-fed beef or field lamb are much higher in omega-3s than corn and grain-fed beef because, remember, you are what you eat. And so are they. Well, people think chicken, for example, is a healthier meat choice. If you're feeding chicken corn and soybeans, which are high in omega-6s, you have chicken meat that is going to be high in omega-6s. The same holds true for farm-raised fish, tilapia being one of the worst in terms of too many omega-6s and almost no omega-3s. Although good sources of omega-3s are grass-fed beef and lamb, the best source is wild, cold water fatty fish, such as salmon, sardines, mackerel, and tuna. So you might wonder which of these is healthier in omega-3s. This fillet of salmon or the canned salmon. The fillet of salmon, from what we learned, is farm raised, so it's probably fed soy and corn. The canned salmon is wild caught. Which one is more healthier? It's the wild caught. Which one would you choose? Also, this can of sardines should be good, right? But it says in soybean oil, which is is another no-no, which I've learned from this book, because we already learned that we get plenty of omega-6s. So this book is a wealth of information, and there are lots of details that I will just skim over. But if you're serious about turning your life around, buying this book might just be the right thing to do. On page 91, it lists where you can get testing done on your blood to see how much omega-3s and omega-6s you actually have. On page 106, it covers how omega-3 can help with depression. I know for me, my personal experience, I don't take any antidepressants anymore, and I'll leave it at that. There's a section in there on page 122 that suggests exercise also helps to heal your brain, and I'm a firm believer in this too. There seems to be a difference in how the USA treats brain injuries and Europe. I was told you can exercise, but as soon as you get a headache, you stop. In Europe, they will actually test your limitations and find your sweet spot so you can exercise. So I went from being a sloth to now I'm probably a hyperactive panda with ADHD. There's also a section on autism and ADHD around page 187. The study on the prison population, page 189, 37% fewer serious offenses occurred after taking omega-3. There's even a section about another type of oil, rich in omega-3, and that's hemp-derived CBD oil, which can help with depression and anxiety, and that's on page 203. Since I'm getting near to the end of this book, this doctor that wrote this book started a practice called brain care, and he is actually seeing patients for some of the things listed as for concussions, traumatic brain injury, ADD and ADHD, brain fog, poor concentration, sports performance, and concussion prevention strategies. Some of the other things that are listed that he does are brain care, are targeted nutritional therapy, graduated non-contact exercise, bioidentical hormone replacement, near-infrared light therapy, heart rate variability training, Loretta EEG neurofeedback, and nasal release technique. On page 215, it shows contact information for him on studies of what type of omega-3 he recommends and how you can get some of them at his discount, and just a wealth of information. I first read this book in 2018, and I just reread it again, and I think I'll read it again because there's so much information in there that I have forgot. As you might guess, I'm not the same person that I was back in June of 2018 when I first learned about this omega-3 and when brains collide. Since then, there's never been a day that I haven't taken omega-3. On days when I know I'm going to have a high cognitive load, I take more. And on days when I'm feeling pretty good, I take less. But I always take some. I also follow a lot of the eating recommendations in this book and other recommendations that will come to follow in other videos. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps and you have an awesome day. And I'm grateful for all of you.